I can't stop thinking about the moment Joey noticed something was wrong with Bill. Not because Bill collapsed or forgot someone's name in some dramatic, obvious way. It was quieter than that. Almost invisible. The kind of thing most people would brush off if they weren't paying attention. But Joey pays attention, especially when there's weakness involved. And honestly, there's something deeply unsettling about the fact that Bill himself doesn't seem to realize he's deteriorating. That's what keeps bothering me. Because Bill is still moving through life like he's completely in control, still focused on work, still obsessed with fixing the Madison lawsuit because of how badly it could damage Chelsea. He's acting like a man who believes his mind is sharp. But every time someone brings up the past, every time details start connecting back to Mike or those old decisions he made, there's this strange hesitation in him now. A delay, like his brain is reaching for something and coming back empty-handed. I don't think that's accidental. And maybe I'm reading too much into it, but Danny noticing it feels important. Very important. The second Danny starts questioning Bill about past choices, especially anything tied to Mike, I feel like the cracks become impossible to hide. Danny knows Bill too well. Probably better than most people realize. She can hear when something in his voice is off. She can tell when he's pretending certainty he doesn't actually feel anymore. And I keep coming back to this idea that Danny may accidentally become the first person to truly recognize that Bill's memory isn't just stress or aging or exhaustion. Something is happening to him, something chemical. Because once you remember what Hayley has been doing behind closed doors, suddenly every small moment feels sinister. The food, the drinks, the quiet routine of poisoning someone little by little while smiling directly at them. That's terrifying to me because it's so controlled, so patient. Hayley isn't acting out of rage. She's calculating, and I think that's why Joey and Leslie immediately recognized the signs. Villains recognize villains. They notice manipulation because they speak the language fluently. The scary part is that Hayley probably thought she was being subtle enough to outsmart everyone. But people like Leslie don't miss behavioral shifts. Leslie sees desperation almost like a bloodhound. And there's something about Leslie's obsession with recruiting Hayley that feels bigger than revenge now. At first, I honestly thought Leslie was just playing psychological games the way she always does. She pushes people emotionally until they crack. That's her sport. But this situation feels different. Too deliberate. She keeps insisting she knows Hayley is deceiving Bill, even though Hayley never openly admits it. That persistence matters. Leslie isn't guessing anymore. She knows something. Or at least she knows enough to destroy Hayley if she wants to. I think Hayley sensed that immediately, which explains why she became so defensive whenever Leslie approached her. And honestly, Hayley has every reason to panic. Lynette already manipulated her once before. That experience clearly left scars. You can see it in the way Hayley reacts whenever someone tries to corner her psychologically. Bill already started becoming suspicious because of the aftermath of everything involving Lynette. So now Hayley's trapped in this exhausting cycle where she has to keep lying while also trying to predict who knows the truth. That kind of pressure changes people. I don't think Hayley expected Leslie to escalate things the way she did, though. The recording changed everything. That moment, honestly, gave me chills, because suddenly this wasn't vague blackmail anymore. It became proof. Real proof. Hayley hearing her own voice connected to Lynette. I can't even imagine the panic that must have hit her in that second. Because now the past isn't buried. It's archived somewhere. Saved? Controlled by Leslie? And if Leslie truly has enough evidence to implicate Randy too, then this situation is far more dangerous than Hayley initially believed. What fascinates me is that Leslie doesn't even want money. That detail keeps echoing in my head because it completely changes the power dynamic. If Leslie were asking for cash, this would just be another blackmail storyline. Predictable, transactional, but Leslie wants loyalty, alliance, access. That's so much darker to me because it means her goals are personal, strategic, long-term. And the more I think about the investment fund connected to Bill and Vernon, the more suspicious the entire thing becomes. I could be wrong, but there's probably truth hidden underneath Leslie's accusations. Maybe not every detail. Leslie manipulates reality constantly, but I don't think she invented this fund out of nowhere. There's a reason she's targeting those documents specifically. She believes something ugly is buried there. Old money, dirty money, the kind of secrets powerful families protect for decades. And if Vernon is involved too, that changes everything. Because the Dupree family has always projected control and elegance, but sometimes I feel like the show quietly hints that their empire was built on compromises nobody wants to discuss openly anymore. There are moments where conversations stop too abruptly whenever old business dealings come up. People exchange looks instead of answers. The truth may be much more complicated than it appears. That's why Leslie's fixation on the entire Dupree family scares me more than her hatred toward Bill. I don't think Bill is the final target. I think he's the entry point. And honestly, Hayley may be walking directly into something she doesn't fully understand. At first, she refuses Leslie's demand because she still thinks she can control the situation herself. She still believes she can manipulate Bill quietly, take the money eventually, and escape before everything explodes. But Leslie starts dismantling her life piece by piece. That's the part that feels almost suffocating to me. Not loud attacks. Small destabilizations, pressure, fear, isolation. Hayley slowly losing control of her own mind while simultaneously damaging Bill's. There's something almost poetic about that in a horrifying way. And eventually, she gives in. Of course she does. I actually think she reaches a point where Leslie becomes more dangerous to her than Bill ever was. At least Bill still loves her in his own damaged way. Leslie doesn't love anyone. Leslie studies people. But even after agreeing to help her, Hayley still doesn't trust her. Not fully. And honestly, she shouldn't. Because I keep getting this feeling that both women are planning to betray each other from the beginning. That alliance is built entirely on paranoia. Hayley thinks she's clever enough to play both sides. Leslie probably assumes Hayley will betray her eventually and already has contingencies prepared. So now every interaction between them carries this invisible tension where neither woman can fully relax. Every conversation probably has layers underneath it. Every favor becomes leverage. And weirdly, I think that's exactly why they become dangerous together, because they complement each other in awful ways. Hayley has proximity to Bill, emotional access. Leslie has patience and information. Combined together, they become capable of tearing apart systems that were protected for years. But the deeper Hayley gets involved, the more I think she starts realizing Leslie's motivations aren't what they seemed initially. Revenge feels too small now. There's something else driving Leslie, something older. Maybe I'm overanalyzing this, but I keep replaying the way Leslie talks about the Duprees sometimes. It doesn't sound like ordinary resentment. It sounds personal, generational even. Like she believes the family took something from her long before the current conflicts began. And if that's true, then the investment fund may only be one layer of a much larger secret. What if Leslie's been investigating them for years? What if Bill and Vernon unknowingly protected something catastrophic without realizing who would eventually come looking for it? That possibility honestly changes how I see everything happening now. Because suddenly, Bill's declining health isn't just a private tragedy. It becomes strategically useful. A man losing pieces of his memory becomes easier to manipulate, easier to frame, easier to silence. And there's another detail I can't shake. If Danny discovers Bill's condition before anyone else does, who will believe her? That's the cruel brilliance of this entire situation. Bill already has enemies, already has baggage, already has a history of questionable choices. So if Danny starts insisting something is medically wrong with him, people might assume she's emotionally projecting because of their complicated past. Meanwhile, Hayley can continue acting concerned and supportive in public while privately accelerating his collapse. That's horrifying. And I keep wondering how long Bill has before he notices the truth himself. Or maybe he already has. Maybe there have been moments alone where he realizes entire conversations disappeared from his memory. Maybe he's terrified but too proud to admit it. There's something about Bill lately that feels haunted. Like part of him knows he's slipping, but he keeps forcing himself forward because stopping would mean confronting the possibility that somebody close to him is responsible. I don't know, but I can't shake this feeling that once those documents surface, the real story finally begins. Not the poisoning, not the blackmail, not even the betrayal between Hayley and Leslie. Something underneath all of it. Something buried years ago that connects Bill, Vernon, Lynette, maybe even Mike. And the scariest part is that Leslie seems completely confident she's getting closer to it.